honestly, the best thing that probably happened to wrestling was people would flip out and they think it's terrible. We got kicked out of the Olympics.
Why do you think is it so hard that everyone knows what they should do, but they still don't do the things that they
that's the
should?
human condition, right?
Like that, he got in that scramble with Dayton Fix, and Dayton's a great scrambler, and he did a couple of good things, and Marcus was right there counter to counter, and I think then they went out of bounds with no score.
Did you mostly have the answer too?
Of course. Of course I did. But I want them to taste their career. I want them to figure it out. Building shoes are hard. I'm impressed by you guys. This takes a lot of work. I want to kill him.
Yeah, I was gonna
give me 30 minutes. If I can't pin him 5 times in 30 minutes, I'll give him $10,000.
How many O'Toole's, Messenbrinks, and Keckeisens do you think are training here right now?
I hope a lot. Yeah, I hope a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Clash of Combat podcast. Today, we are joined with Ben Askren. So, Ben, how's it going?
What's up? Good. I had to beg to be on the show. You guys have been doing this for a while. I watch you. You have a large audience. And I said, pretty please, can I come on the show? And you guys said yes.
That is true.
It is about time.
But the weird thing about it is when we first wanted to start this, we were like, dude, we could always get Wisconsin guys, but we gotta get guys out there. But it was like we were kind of neglecting the in-state. So, now's the time.
We were always thinking of you as like, you're one like we have banked in. If we don't have a guest this week, then you're one.
Taking me for granted. Who you need to put in front of a camera though? My brother. He doesn't like being in front of a camera. You guys just need to show up and say, Max, we're gonna steal an hour and a half from you, and just grill him because I have encouraged him to be more out there on social media and stuff, and he's like a ghost.
He is a ghost. But
you got him on Instagram, right?
Someone else made it.
So one year at high school state, who was it? It was maybe Pat and Brett. It was someone. They created a Max Instagram, and we were all together. So they were taking pictures from everywhere he was at, and then they started tagging all of his athletes, and all of his athletes started sharing it, and they actually thought it was Max.
I still thought it was him.
Because they were all the same. Because it was all the same places, and they were like taking the pictures from Max's perspective. And Max was like really annoyed by it, and he kind of like suspected someone, but he wasn't sure, and he couldn't catch them. So they kept it going for a couple months before he caught on. And then I tried saying, "Well, hey Max, you have an Instagram now, and you have like 600 followers. Like here,
might as well keep it going." Or something.
Nope, not gonna happen.
Why are you super like vocal on social media and everything, but he is not? Even though you guys have grown up, because I'm assuming you guys have a great relationship. You guys were super close growing up.
I talked to him like 4 times today.
How did that kind of get
you know what? I have no idea. I would say he's always been more shy in the media. And it's funny because he's probably more personable than me, I would say. I mean, you guys spent a lot of time around him. And he's definitely not shy with his opinions. At this point in my life, I'm 40, he's 38. Like, I don't really argue with him anymore. Like, because I know if we start arguing, he's not going to stop. So it's like, do I want to waste the next 2 hours? And the answer is like, no, I don't. So it's like, okay, Max, you get to have your opinion, I'll have mine, and we'll just be done. So, yeah, it's weird that he just, he's a little different. He likes his guarding. And one of the big fights we got in early in AWA's history was we had something going on Saturday, and Max said, I can't be there. I got a foraging class. And I was like, Max,
a what class?
This is Max. This is who he is, right?
Foraging?
Foraging. Like going around and looking for stuff you can eat in the woods.
Oh,
that's foraging.
Foraging.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm like, no, you're gonna be there. He's like, no, I'm not. I had this class. I have a plan. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I swear, I'm gonna kill you. You don't need to forage. Well, you live in 2020. It's probably 2013. We're in 2013 or 2014. You don't need to forage for anything. Yeah. Come to the freaking. I don't remember what we were doing. And we had a big fight about it. So that's just kind of how he's always been. I accept it now, and I've accepted that if something's going to be on social media, it's going to be me or someone around me doing it, and probably won't be Max. Yeah. Every once in a while, I do stick a camera in his face and force him to do something.
Right.
But yeah, besides that.
Well, no, I do remember, because when I would film some stuff for, the AWA channels, it was like, it would always be kind of like awkward of like putting it in Max. He's like,
yes.
I don't know what to do. I'm like, it's always kind of funny, but
it would be funny if you guys just showed up and said, maybe don't even tell him. Maybe say, Max, I want a private lesson.
That's a good point.
And
we got to get there early and like set up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Surprise him. It would be great. He would be fun on camera. I thought about now that I stopped podcasting once in a while, just like Zooming with Max or say like, hey, we have a Google Meet because we need to talk about this stuff, and then just recording it and like making a podcast without telling him.
Oh my gosh, that would be good. Because I think he also holds a lot of great wrestling ideas. Like yourself, you're more vocal, but there's so many. This I'm always thinking about this too. How much in wrestling is like secretive, and how much is also just like spun out of control? Because there's so much information that sometimes it can be hard to really like think what is good and what is actually bad.
Yeah, you have to be able to decipher it. That's why you guys should put a camera in his face. You see what he says on the things. Yeah, no, I think for me, I actually just did, it wasn't a podcast. It was an interview, though. There's this guy named Robert Drysdale. He's a multiple-time world champion in jiu-jitsu. He fought in the UFC for a while. And he's doing a book. And one of the things he complimented wrestling on was wrestling has the ability to cut, like, the bullshit out. And I said, I think that is because we all compete so much. So, Caden, you can't go around saying, no, I know wrestling, and this works. It's like, prove it. No one's going to believe you until you prove it, right? And there's so many competitions all the way from, I would say too young until, Jordan Burroughs or David Taylor in the mid-30s. Like, we all are going to see what happens. And so you can't tell me, I have this secret move. It's like, no, I don't believe you. Prove it to me. And so if you watch enough wrestling, you start to see what does and doesn't work, And so obviously, hopefully you have a good coach advising you. I mean, I know I just watched Marcus Blaze last weekend. Everyone knew he was good, but he's kind of next level. But Coach Messerink had taught it a few times. We call it the shot absorber, where he's kind of like in a low, like bracing position. He's kind of like hitting the shoulders, and then he's going right to like almost like a snap. So it's like boom, boom, real quick, and then chasing the corner and catching ankles. So it's like if you watch enough stuff, I think you can. At least I think I can see where wrestling's going to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess in the certain case of Marcus Blaze too, like I guess the biggest thing for him too is he's never out of position, and it's more of like it's so simple, right? It's like you have to stay in the best position, but how can kids get better at that?
He's comfortable everywhere though.
That is a good point. That is a good point.
Yeah, him and Dayton. Actually, my kids, I haven't watched this, so I don't want to embarrass you, but I brought him up yesterday I had a group of private lessons, and they said, yeah, Caden tried wrestling, and
that was
he did something tricky to you or something, right? Did that happen?
That was situations too.
It was situations. So we started in on a leg, but it was a very bad finish towards the end. Never go to the hip.
He's pretty good.
But he's pretty good. Yeah, when I did get the chance to roll with him, because I don't like posting things that just put others,
I wouldn't post me taking him.
I wouldn't like post myself like taking him down after he wins or whatever, just because
that would be
type
weird.
you up. But it was like wrestling him. It's crazy because he's so young, but you don't think about like the strength. Like how is he that strong? How is he that just positionally?
He does look very strong, even though he doesn't look strong. When I watch him wrestle, I think he's got to be strong based on what he's doing, based on the actions of what he's taking. For him, like that, he got in that scramble with Dayton Fix towards the end of the second period, maybe. And Dayton's a great scrambler, and he did a couple of good things. And Marcus was right there, counter to counter. I think then they went out of bounds with no score. But you can tell he spends time in there. Actually, I have ADHD, so I just go off on tangents here. So actually, 2 weeks ago, before I released this book, Extreme Balance, I was filming content with Joe DeCina in Florida, and he said, we have this brain scientist that I've done some work with. I said, oh, freaking great. Let me go. I'm fascinated by this stuff, So the first thing was they put this thing on my head, and then they saw how my brain worked, and then they had me predict, and I was really good at predicting how my own brain worked, which is great.
Really?
So it was essentially 3 categories, and he said the simplest way to put it is like gas, brakes, or a combination, right? So I said, I think I'm a lot of gas, but I think over time I've learned that sometimes that burns me, so I've tried to pull back. So I said I would be, they give like percentage, I said I'd be like 60-20-20 was my thought, And I was 70, I think I was 70, 15, 15 or something. So directionally, I was really close. But anyway, so one of the things I talked to him about was I have this other idea on brain activity and brain patterns. And it's I think in MMA and wrestling, people who are really good, their brain moves really quickly. Like it's boom, 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 boom through the situations. And watch Marcus Blaze flow through the situations. You're like, there's no way, it's impossible he would stop and say, oh, what do we do next? You already lost, right? So he's flowing through these things, and then, in his case, he's making a lot of the right decisions very quickly also. And so I asked him, the brain scientist, I said, is there any way you can study the speed of processing of the brain? Like a computer has a processing speed.
Sure.
I think, well, does the brain may have a processing speed also? And he said, people have the ability to improve it, right? And he said, over time, he said, we can study that, and we have studied that. And he said, essentially, I don't know if you've heard the old, there's that one famous chess study where they put the pieces on the board. Have you guys heard about this or no? Okay, so we're going way into sports psych, right? My favorite topic, so let's go. So they put pieces on the chessboard. They give grandmasters 3 seconds to look at the board, and they give, we'll say you're the grandmaster, you're the jabroni, okay?
Makes sense.
And he remembers every piece, and you remember very few of them, okay? So they say the conclusion of the study is that the grandmasters have photographic memory, and they can remember everything, okay? So someone revisits that study like 10 years later, they do the initial study, same conclusion is found, but then they say, well, hold on, I think it's because they're chunking this information and they just understand what's happening. And so then they redo the study, but they jumble the pieces up in like a nonsense format. And the chess master and the jabroni get the exact same score, right? They're both remembering the exact same amount of pieces on the board. So when it's a non-chess format, you don't remember any better than he does, even though he knows nothing about chess. And so it's not about you see and you know it, it's you see it as one piece. Right? You see, oh, that's a single leg shell finish. Right? Whereas someone who knows nothing about wrestling would have to think, where's the head, where's the hand, where's the, right? And you see single leg shelf, and you get it just as one piece.
Right. You see so many things in one
at one time. And so essentially what he was saying was people who have the ability to move their brain really fast, or this fast processing speed, they've essentially built like programming on top of each other. And so they're seeing all these things as chunks as opposed to individuals, So they may see a whole sequence of moves as that's one chunk. Not, oh, I do this, and then I do this. This is how this sequence goes, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah. Wow.
So,
that was very interesting.
It was really fascinating. I didn't have time because I had to catch a flight, but I wanted to even grill him some more on maybe ways to kind of improve that, because he said it was improvable. And I know I have some athletes who I feel like if I said, hey, say the words of how this sequence goes, I think they would get it. But then when we say, go fast, they don't get it, or they lose those situations, and that's frustrating because obviously, especially when a kid's putting in work, you want to see them get the benefit of the work that they've put in. So it's frustrating when they don't.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You say the sports psychology is like your favorite thing to talk about, right? And I assume that's been from reading books or doing like interviews or just talking to a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you could right now have all like your wisdom of sports psychology back to when you first started wrestling, how would that have impacted your career?
Well, the first thing I would say I started reading about as a little kid, and there was no plan. This is not me making a plan, right? This is just what I liked. Is I started reading about like successful athletes, and first it was probably like some of the Brewers players because I live in Milwaukee, and then the Packers got good, so I was probably starting following them, and then it was just like, I'm a little bit obsessive, right? So I just started reading about I read freaking every sport. I read about the great tennis players, soccer, football, like literally across the board, There's obviously very few books about wrestlers, but, there's a couple out there. And so I think what I was doing, even though I didn't know I was doing it, was I was getting a great snapshot of how all these people think, right? I'm literally reading we'll say hundreds, probably over the course of many years, right? Hundreds of books about great athletes, and I'm seeing how they think. Michael Jordan was one I read a bunch about, Prefontaine, Lance Armstrong, Muhammad Ali, and I'm getting this snapshot into how they think. And so, you know what? I think I was getting a lot of that information early. Even though no one was saying, hey, this is sports psychology, this is how you're supposed to do it or not do it. I think by reading about these people, I was getting these ideas, and I think I was coming to good conclusions. So, I would say if I look back, obviously in the beginning I wasn't very good, but I would say reading a lot helped, and then I had some great advisors. And I don't think anywhere along my career I made like terrible decisions where I would say, oh, if I go back and redo this, I'm way better or way worse. So I would say I'm pretty satisfied with how everything turned out. And it would be hard to identify a clear point where I said, I clearly did something wrong, and it had a big impact. There could be some small ones, of course. I talk about that in the book. So the book is about paradoxes and how, what I tell is one of the chapters is push through the pain or pull back the reins. And when do you need to do one or the other. And so one of the things early in my career was I had the stinger. I don't know if you get a stinger.
Yeah.
And they hurt like shit for like 5 minutes, right? And then they go away and they pretty much don't hurt.
Yep.
Okay, but if you do it, they essentially the nerve gets inflamed, and then you're more likely to do it again. And so one time I was kind of getting a bunch of them, and I just kept, okay, fine. And I knew in my head I probably should take some time off, but I had the U.S. Open coming up, and I wanted to wrestle in it, and so eventually I lost all the strength in my left arm, right? Because essentially what happens is the nerves swell, and then they stop sending signals. And so on that one, it's like, well, if I just wasn't smart enough to take, 3 days off or something. After the first one, it would have calmed down, and then, in the end, I ended up having to take like 6 to 8 weeks off to let it all calm down. And so, there could be like small ones like that where I learned my lesson, but I don't know if there's any huge ones that I could have flipped.
Interesting.
Yeah, obviously putting an adult brain into a child would be very effective, but that doesn't
really matter.
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair.
Yeah. Well, talk to me just a little bit about this book. We talked a little bit off camera. You have been like thinking about this idea for like a decade, and you just kind of were implementing for the past 2 years on it. How did this kind of all come up?
So I've been implementing it on myself. I feel like I've been trying on myself for forever, right? As long as I can remember. I feel like I've been using this type of stuff on my athletes, since we opened AWA, and then I coached college for a few years before, so probably even that. But I would say I've never met an athlete who's perfect psychologically, who can check off all the boxes and balance everything. Generally, they are really, at least in a couple of categories, way strong one way and then almost neglectful of the other side of the balance, which is important. I would say the first time I started making recognition of like this type of thought process was, and this is the balance of two types of people, right? Because we all and it's about self-awareness because you lean towards one. I'm sure, let's just think about your own college team. You guys are on the same team. Can you think of someone who does everything right? They probably even like track their calories. They go to sleep on time. They show up to practice every single day at the same time. They probably take notes in their journal. They watch film. Can we think of someone like that?
Vaguely, sure.
Okay, maybe a couple.
Yeah.
Okay, and that person, if they can't control the other side of it, is very likely to have some type of performance anxiety, right? They're very tightly strung. If something goes wrong, they freaking go crazy. And they don't always compete as well as they practice or as well as they prepare, right? Mm-hmm. So the first version of this chapter was Prepare versus the Cowboy. Okay, and then have you guys ever been around someone who does everything wrong? Okay, they eat fast food, they stay up late. In college, they maybe party too much.
Sure.
But when they show up on match day, they bring the heat.
Yeah.
Can we think of someone like that?
Yeah.
And so that was like the first one for me is like, well, how do I get the best of both of these? Because if I'm a coach, I want the kid to do all things right. And actually, of these two kids, which one frustrates me more? It's probably the one who shows up and brings the heat, but they're doing all the shitty things, So it's like, how do I get this guy to buy into more of the preparer mentality? And how do I get the preparer to kind of let go of some of the control, right? And say, hey, something can go wrong on the day of it, and I can still compete, right? And so, I realized this about myself because I was more the first type, but then I bombed my freshman year at Fargo. I went 0-2 and I got tech ball both matches. And, one of my coaches, Terry Steiner at the time, helped me realize that about myself, is that I was super obsessive. I need to just chill and relax, and some things are wrong. Sometimes the bout order is going to get pushed back, or it's going to be too cold. You're not going to get the right warm-up. You're not going to get the right food. Your weight is going to suck. You might be a little sick. It doesn't matter. The match is still going to happen. You got to bring the heat. So, that was kind of like the initial thought process, and then I started recognizing it in other areas where people leaned way harder one way than the other. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm very, very curious to read it.
Yeah.
I have read I'm very vague on my reading because I'm not a crazy big reader, but I'll pick up a book and sometimes it's hard for me to finish. But another thing too, the all-in journal.
Yeah.
I've actually been using that also for the past month. So Nick gave it to us.
Sweet.
What also was the idea behind that, and how have you implemented it in athletes at Askren?
Well, so that was. You know what? I know some people are using it, but I do feel weird. It's weird. I feel weird selling product to my own people, even though I made it because of them. Right. I freaking yelled at them one day. I'm like, you buttholes won't buy too many of these. But the whole reason I was driving around one day, and I was frustrated. I don't even remember who I was frustrated with. I was frustrated with someone because it was something I told them something 5 times, and they still weren't getting it right. And I'm just thinking of okay, and most of the kids, they want to be really good, right? But for some reason, I mean, maybe it's an extreme balance thing, maybe it's a other thing, but they won't take the time to write something down. It's something that's going to help them remember it better. And so I was frustrated by that. And so I'm like, I need to make a journal. I need to get them journaling. And then I thought back, and this guy, Levi Jones, he was, I want to say he's a Pac-12 champion out of Boise State. He's got a club now, maybe 5 years prior, so a while back. He had come out with the first version, and he had asked me to kind of advertise on Mental Monday. And I had been journaling for, I still, every single day, every single night before I go to bed, I kind of write down some of the things I need to do. I kind of, in my mind, go through everything. And like, I actually don't know how people get through life without writing things down, because I would never, I mean, literally, as I was coming to this podcast, someone texted me and they're like, oh, hey, remember we had that call at 2:30? I'm like, oh, I didn't write that down. You know, I'm like, I can still be there, thankfully, right? But it was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Right. So I don't know how people get through life without it, because it's something I've been doing forever. So he asked me to kind of advertise for him on the Mental Mondays. I said, yeah, sure. And I liked his journal, but there was a handful of things where I'm like, here's what I would change. So I essentially, instead of making a journal myself, I just said, hey, I thought your journal was cool. That was good. Here's a few things I would change. Would you ever want to do a partnership? And he said, yeah. I said, you know what? I've actually been, kind of sold through my first batch, and I've been thinking about redoing it. I would be totally open to working together. So we started working together. I don't remember exactly when we started. I remember when I was in Australia last December, we were making the order, so it had to be at least a few months before, so probably a year ago or so, we started kind of working on it. And yeah, so it's great. And I know I've got a handful of people who are using them, and I'm getting great feedback so far. So, and that's what I told my kids at AWA, is like, okay, if you don't buy the journal, whatever, fine, whatever. But you need to be journaling. Like, that was my whole impetus for getting started with this, was because you guys weren't remembering enough stuff. And like I told you, in my own life, I don't know how. I mean, listen, you guys, I'm sure you write down stuff for your YouTube channel sometimes and say like, oh, I messed this up, or I got to do this next time, or like, am I right? Or
right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah. What's cool about this too? I mean, I guess just relinking it with college too.
Yeah.
Coming from high school to college, it was almost a sense of, in high school you always got your parents to hold your hand. They're doing stuff for you. That you got your practice times, whatever. But in college, that was really like a step up of like, hey, like, you're the one in charge of your success. Yeah. And also with this one, what it does, which is very nice too, because it's a lot of people aren't accustomed to journaling. Yeah. It has those segments of, what you want to write, but then also I didn't get the chance to use them yet because I think they're a weekly thing, but you have like coach,
performance evaluations.
Performance evaluations that your coach can actually do. Yeah. So I think that's very interesting. I'm very curious to see
and that performance evaluation, honestly, for me, a lot of those categories were like extreme balance things, where I recognize people, struggle in certain areas, and so you need them to be thinking about it, right? Because it needs to be them that is essentially fixing themselves. I always tell people, like, I'm the coach. I am like, your advisor. I'm here to consult you and help you, but it is your career. You guys are doing this. It's your careers, So I'm going to give you help, but it does have to be you. So yeah, that's a lot about getting people to think for themselves about what they're doing. So you struggled when you guys got to college, but you seem responsible.
No, I was just kind of linking to like a lot of people are, and even
I know that there's probably some disaster stories. We won't throw anyone under the bus.
I'm sure there's, but I'm just saying it's just there's moments in life when you're gonna have to step up and there's just things change. So
you guys never told me who on your team parties a lot, but then shows up and brings the heat.
I don't know.
There are things that maybe aren't on the team right now that have graduated.
I thought when you said that, I was thinking of more people that like diet wise, like people who like eat like crap.
That's one part of it.
Or like drink, like I don't know.
Yo-yo with their weights.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But I don't think we have a lot of partiers.
Okay.
Why do you think is it so hard that everyone knows what they should do? And they have a goal, but they still don't do the things that they
that's
should.
a human condition, right? I mean, even I would like to think I'm highly disciplined and successful, and there's still stuff on a daily basis that I can't make myself do. I did quit dessert a while ago, so that was a great one. But it took me 39 years. Like it took a while. That's right. That's the whole challenge of life. It's like if every kid figured it out. I mean, and obviously this is numerically impossible, but every kid figured it out, they'd all be state champions and doing really, really well. And it's the kids who are able to discipline themselves and stay motivated and do those type of things who are achieving those things. And we're lucky, and I would. This is one of those things. Maybe it's like false attribution. I think we try to give our kids a lot of autonomy, where I know Max does as well at his academy, where it's like you're in charge, you're the boss, and giving them that responsibility. For me, I think it empowers them. I think kids, maybe at a younger age, they like being told, you do all these things on this list, right? But by the time I think it's especially males also, by the time, I don't know if it's like 13, 14, 15, you're like, no, I'm a man. I want to do what I want to do. So you need the kid thinking, well, what I want to do is be great at wrestling. And then they show up every day and they do the things necessary.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I remember when I was just started going to Askren, and it was like, you have like your free reins, kind of like sparring and stuff, figuring stuff out yourself. And it's like, compared to like other academies that I was at like prior to that, it was just so much more like, almost, not that Askren isn't structured, obviously it is, but it's like everything else just like check 1, check 2, check 3. It's like,
well, I think you need that autonomy.
Yeah.
And some kids hate it at the beginning. I'll tell you someone who still hates it. I kind of picked on him. He was here on Monday when I was talking about the book, Peyton Mako. I get him to come in and work out on Mondays. He's got a job at Komatsu. But I remember in high school, he would get so mad at me because there'd be certain things where he would want the answer. And I'd go, figure it out. Like, this is on you, figure it out. He'd be like, I just want the answer, because he wants everything to be, perfect. He's engineer, that type of brain.
Yeah. Did you mostly have the answer too?
Of course. Of course I did. But I want them to taste their career. I want them to figure it out, Right. And so he hated that. But I think that's important for them to take that initiative. Max says the same thing about, hey, this is your career, go figure it out. And listen, if he struggled for long enough, obviously, I was going to say, well, hey, here's a suggestion or two that you may take. But, there's even with him, they'll argue about who it was, but him, Kradiger, and Keegan all started doing this one technique. And I remember telling him, like, that's dumb, it's wrong, like, stop, And they all kept doing it. And, maybe after 3 months, I was like, you know what? You guys kind of got something there. I was wrong. So like, I like it when they're thinking of themselves and they have a little pushback. And, listen, lots of times I'm right, but there's obviously times where I'm wrong. And that was one of them where I didn't know what to move. You guys would probably know, because Peyton always did it a lot. Keegan kind of went away from it a little bit. It's when they go low single, generally kicked off to the same side. They have the low single, like a front kickoff. They start going the other way, and they go kind of, Dayton Fix does it too, knee in the back, curl your heel, and you kind of go ankle waist.
We've drilled that this summer. We were drilling that.
So to my knowledge, they were the first ones to do it. I don't recall seeing it prior to that. And I know when they started, I was like, hey, that's dumb, like, stop. And they didn't listen to me, and I'm glad they didn't.
No, I've actually used that probably every practice this year. I'm not gonna lie, so
nice.
That's funny.
Well, they will argue over which one of those guys was the creator of that. To my knowledge, they all started doing it at the same time, and maybe it wasn't him saying, hey, do this. Maybe it was you just saw him doing it once. You're like, oh, that's, and maybe you didn't even know. Maybe it was subconscious.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tricky. Let me try that.
When Nick showed us, he gave all the credit to Keegan.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Peyton and Jared will probably fight you on that one.
Yeah.
So I always let that. I said, listen, I'm not gonna. It's one of you three, to my knowledge, and whoever wants to take the credit, fine, whatever.
What's the name of it? Do they have?
I don't even think they have a name. I would just say that move that Keegan and Peyton do wrong.
How many other moves like that, or I guess more situations, are there that we just haven't figured out yet?
Wrestling is always evolving, and sometimes the old becomes the new. And so I'll just tell you, someone emailed me the other day, and I'm actually worked out perfect, because for some reason I was going to be where I was going to be, and they wanted a clinic, and said, well, I'm going to be here this day. This is the day I can do it, because I'm already going to be there, and it worked out. But they said the quad pod, and we were huge on the quad pod forever. And the quad pod in the beginning, every coach said, that's dumb, you're standing up the wrong way, old school stand up, you gotta stand up. And then it got so popular that every single person had to figure out how to defend it, because everyone was doing quad pod. And for a minute there, I don't want to say it was unstoppable, but it was almost everyone was getting away. So then, I'm kind of going through history, but for a while in college, everyone started shelving the single leg. And then they outlawed that, because it is stalling, it's bullshit stalling, right? So then they outlawed that, and then the quad pod went crazy again, and then everyone got so good at the claw, right? And I don't want to say it killed the quad pod, because it didn't kill it, but it made it significantly harder. So now, we're doing a ton of steel and pivot, and I think that's kind of going to be the next, frontier, the next thing that's really popular in bottom wrestling. At some point, if the quad pod came back, I wouldn't be shocked at all, because if the claw is no longer effective and the claw is the counter to the quad pod,
then you don't drill the.
you're not going to drill the claw. People are going to forget about how to use the claw, and then the quad pod can kind of make a resurgence.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
That's what you're really good at, the
claw?
the seal pivot.
seal and the seal pivot.
It's so effective and efficient. So, you know, and maybe the quad pod doesn't ever make, and we do, now I'm going to start doing wrestling moves, but we go seal and pivot, and then a lot of guys like popping up to like, it'd be like a tripod because they keep the seal in, you know?
Yeah.
They find that to be the easiest way to pop up. And so that's very like quad pod-ish, even though it's not exactly, you know? So maybe that just kind of becomes predominant and the quad pod never fully comes back. Never know. Yeah.
Big question for you.
Uh-oh.
Are we ever gonna see you teach Greco or go into a Greco
I just
tournament?
made a video that crapped on Greco this morning.
No, that's why I brought it up.
Well, you know,
I'll give you this too,
yeah.
just so you know, like Crosby's big. He's a big Greco hater
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, you are?
I hate Greco.
And like.
but aren't you good at Greco? Didn't you do good?
So here's the thing.
Okay.
I like Greco. Like competing and it's fun, but I wouldn't go like this Olympic cycle. I didn't go out of my way to watch necessarily like the Greco Olympics, other than the new the 5-time Olympic champion.
You guys are obviously from here. Also, Wisconsin people love Greco, so I always catch a lot of heat for this. And it's like, you know, one of the things I think about life is like pursue what you want to pursue. And it's like, listen, I love disc golf. I don't care if anyone wants to watch it. I don't care if you think it's boring and dumb. Whatever. I still like it. It's still fun for me. So for those Greco people, like, I'm sure you're fine people. And if you want to pursue wrestling people with only upper body under a limited rule set, then feel free. Have fun. But when they get angry because they need validation from someone outside of Greco, then it's like, but that's silly. Like, why do you feel the need to force other people to watch your matches to feel validation? It's like, I don't feel the need to force anyone to watch me play disc golf to feel validation. Like, I built my course on my property. I'll go play by myself. No one will watch me. Whatever, right? I'm sure you might have some strange hobbies that you don't feel the need for people to watch. Well, you're on YouTube, and so maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. You kind of let people watch everything, right? So, right, but you know, there's all these things that you could pursue in life, and some of them will just be things that people aren't interested in. Even like, you know, I had a vlog when I was fighting, and it's funny because like people were super interested in that. And you actually helped me after John Broughton left, and she's like, people just weren't as interested in my everyday life. That's fine. So I'll stop recording it and I'll just live my everyday life.
Right.
You know, it's like, why do you need outside validation of someone saying, this is interesting? Do it because you want to do it. And that's it. Like, and if people want to watch it, great. And if they don't want to watch it, that's fine too. But you should be pursuing the thing because you find it somewhat inherently pleasurable. And that's it. So for Greco people, I hope you love Greco. I hope you enjoy it. But you shouldn't need validation from an outside source. And USA Wrestling needs to stop forcing it down our throat because they're literally killing their own viewership. Like, I love wrestling. I love watching wrestling. But, you know, this one wasn't so bad because it's only 4 weights. But when you do this scattered weight, freestyle, women's, Greco, the weights are all jumbled up. They're not going in order. But then when you make it freaking 10 weights for the normal world trials next year, and some of those days, they're like 8-hour days for the finals. Like, guys, I love wrestling. I can't watch wrestling for 8 hours. Yeah. So a lot of times I won't watch it, and then I'll, you know, go back and obviously watch some of the matches that I find interesting. But I would much rather watch it live. And then you go to the NCAA wrestling, and what are they doing well? Well, a dual meet's like 2-ish hours, you know, and dual meets are getting great viewership now. So it's like, I don't know. I don't really know why USA Wrestling keeps trying to force it down our throat and treat us like bad people if we don't like it.
Did you ever compete in Greco?
That was my first All-American in Fargo.
Really?
Yeah, and that was when I started having the neck injuries, and the doctor said, stop wrestling. I said, that's dumb. I said, I'll give up Greco. How about that? And they said, okay. And, you know, I figured it was also the right path for me because college coaches, they don't care about Greco, and I knew that, and I had not had any success in freestyle yet, and so I was like, I need to focus on freestyle, and then the next summer I had success in freestyle, and then I, you know, obviously was kind of like all-in freestyle, folk style type thing. And now, and that's kind of, you know, our main premise why we don't focus too much on Greco at AWA is because one of our goals is to have people go to college to wrestle, and the college coaches, they just don't care. And I already feel like there's too much wrestling to coach anyways. I get overwhelmed lots of times because it's like, I have so many positions to teach you. And
it doesn't necessarily correlate too.
Not all of it, yeah.
Like, sure, some things, but if you have a cracked out stud at Greco, but let's say he's winning Fargo Greco, but he's not All-American in freestyle, you're not necessarily going to recruit him as much as the next guy up.
Absolutely. No, that's very common. Yeah, and then obviously then sometimes, kids get too in love with it. And then, the other thing, I don't want this to turn, you're probably happy, but I don't want this to turn into a crap on Greco session. That wasn't what I intended. But the other thing is, there are only say 6 or 7 states who really care about it. So then inherently it's gonna be easier to have success because you have less competitors, right? If you have 1,000 competitors in one and you have 400 in the other, it's obviously easier to have success in the one with 400. So then kids get this disillusionment that, I'm actually better at this one. Well, you're not actually better. It's just easier. There's literally less people, and just from a numerical standpoint, we can look at those and come to a relatively good conclusion. So they get the disillusionment that they're so much better, and then they want to spend more time there. And then, so for our kids who still wrestle Greco, it's like, okay, fine. Go wrestle. You don't get to practice it at all, but you can still go compete. And some of them do fine without practice. It's funny, they'll do fine. They don't really practice much at all, and they'll do fine.
I mean, yeah, he made the U23 finals. That was
in the Askren singlet too. I was
with no training. He threw the dummy around
training?
a few times.
Yeah, I threw the dummy around, and I practiced with Crosby.
Once.
Yeah, but,
Coach Nick's pretty good at Greco, though.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is. He's also good at Winn-Dixieing everyone on the team too.
Yeah.
What is that? That sounds like a little PTSD.
And Craig leg cradling. He'll just leg cradle guys in the room.
How do you get leg cradled? That's kind of embarrassing.
I don't remember the last time.
We're recording this.
Yes, it might have been freshman year when he done it at least once.
All right, so it's been a while.
I remember when we're walking around and I'm seeing Craig leg cradling
I don't even know what the position's called. You know, when you're an answer and they cross their legs on your arm? Craig puts me there every single time I wrestle him.
You got to exit faster. So I did that to Mitchell for a long time because he would exit fast enough. So it's so you go crack down and then you switch sides, or you go answer and they sit up. Either one. You have your inside arm, which would be the bottom one. It's got to exit the situation, otherwise you are kind of stuck there. Yeah. So you got to exit fast, like that mental processing speed we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Like the second you feel them sitting up, the arm's got to be out.
Got it.
Otherwise you're stuck.
Yeah, I get stuck there a lot.
It's so annoying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Switching gears just a little bit, do you enjoy your time? Did you enjoy your time more as an athlete or as a coach as you do now?
I would say I'm loving both of them. I loved competing, and I still miss it sometimes. I mean, I would if someone could make it worth my time, I'd love to wrestle a couple more matches. I wouldn't want to do a tournament and that type of stuff, but give me a match against someone.
Even a tournament. I feel like I'm getting old. It's too much for me.
23 or 22.
But it's true because sometimes it's a duel. I can do a duel, but then sometimes a tournament's man.
Yeah, by that, especially the big ones where it's 6 matches and day 2, you're I'm so sore. Yeah. So give me someone easy like Dylan Palacio or something like that. I'd love to roll him up. I still get the battle with we have. Keegan comes back through here, Mitchell, Aiden, Evan Wick was in here, I wrestled Parker and Connor this summer. So I still get the battle with some of the better guys, and I enjoy competing. I can't do it nearly every day, but I can do it, sometimes. So one of the things I did do to myself later in my career, which was really stupid, and I like to fight too much. And I just don't say no often enough. Being there do you want to wrestle Jordan Burroughs? I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
I was hyped for that.
Yeah, I was very hyped. I'm like, could you imagine he wins?
No, so I trained with him, so I knew I was probably unlikely to win. I thought I could, get a couple points, dump it. It was freestyle dump him, maybe get on top, and I had I didn't think I was going to win. And obviously Jake Paul, which I was hoping he sucked. He's unfortunately better than I thought he was. And
are you happy to see where he's at now? At least I lost to
a
guy.
It's a little bit of validation because. Yeah, I if he would have been terrible. I would have loved to see Tyron beat him up because Tyron's a way better boxer than I am, and this is Anderson Silva. So I knew I wasn't good. So I guess ideally he would have been a lot worse. So I said yes to a few things that maybe I shouldn't have. So now it's give me some easy ones. If I'm gonna take anything else, if I'm gonna take anyone else, I want at least 3 for sure wins. I'm not gonna wrestle Carter Starocci. Give me some easy ones. Let me whoop him a little bit, and then if I'm still having fun, I'll choose a hard one.
But if you did the Palacio one, would you just want to do it he shows up?
I want to kill him.
Yeah, I was gonna
give me 30 minutes. Give me 30. Listen, here you can broadcast this on your channel, kid. If I can't pin him 5 times in 30 minutes, I'll give him $10,000 or a Bitcoin, whichever one he wants.
I'll kill that dude.
Like, so I could actually, I don't even.
There's
I
that-
He
Dude,
won't show up.
this
'cause
summer-
This summer he acted like a little bitch and didn't show up.
Yeah,
I said, come on, whatever.
Apparently, I heard this through Johnny when he was at Hartford running a clinic, and apparently he missed his flight. But he was saying that he wants to go to your house at 4 a.m. to scream like, "Come here, I'm here now."
Yeah,
but of course he never.
I'll walk outside and whoop his ass and I'll cry.
Wait, where does
Listen, at the Bitcoin conference, he doctored the footage to make it seem like he was a little bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if he told you the real story. He probably didn't, because
No.
I want to say he might be a pathological liar, potentially. I'm not certain. I haven't spent that much time around him. But he had that sign, wrestle for a Bitcoin. And so someone told me about it. So I saw him. I'm like, hey, let's wrestle for a Bitcoin. And he's like, that's really expensive and you're good. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, fine. And he pretends to be this like really wealthy guy who's got a ton of Bitcoin. I said, okay, well, I realize I'm going to take you down. That's going to happen. And I said, well, let's do it for charity. You're rich. You can have the good exposure of giving money to a charity. You can have the footage, which will be funny. I'll probably take it easy on you. I won't kill you.
Is this how the beef started, by the way?
Then he lied. Then he lied about it, right?
Okay.
So I'm like, we'll do it for charity. You give the money to charity. You have your footage. You're filming. You have the footage. It'll be great for you. Good press. Blah blah blah. And he just kept, it's $43,000. Oh, it's $42,000. And so finally, I was just sick of it. Finally, I'm like, well, you clearly don't want to do this.
Right.
You're not who you claim to be. And so finally, I said something like, next year, maybe you have the balls to do it. Something to that effect. And I'm like, I'm sick of wasting my time with you. And so he took that last line that I wouldn't wrestle him. And it's like, no, I spent 5 minutes trying to get you to not be a little bitch. And then, as I'm sick of it and I'm leaving, then you clip something where I essentially said, I'm leaving because I'm sick of you. Not because I don't want to wrestle you, it's because you're being a baby and I'm sick of trying to talk to you. And then he clipped that as I didn't want to wrestle him. It's like, dude, Dylan, let's be real, you suck compared to me. You fucking went to Pan Am's and got beat up by someone from Colombia or something. For real, this happened. You can go look. You're not good at wrestling compared to me. You may be good compared to the general population. You're not good to me. I would murder you. And so please just stop acting. And so I'm sure he's an okay person, maybe. He might be a pathological liar, we don't know. But the fact of the matter is he is pretending to be someone he's not. And he's misportraying this, and that's where it annoys me, because I showed up and I'm like, we can wrestle. I love to wrestle. And I was even gonna be nice to him, and I was gonna let him donate the money to charity. And then he wants to flip it I was scared to wrestle. I love wrestling. I am not scared to wrestle anybody. I've wrestled freaking Jordan Burroughs. Do you know how much you suck compared to him, Dylan? You are Jordan Burroughs is here. I get that I'm a level below him, unfortunately, right? But you're now we're down here, Dylan. That's where you're at. So
Crosby could beat Dylan at this point.
Let's go. Especially in Greco.
Yeah.
So yeah, show up. I'd love to
so I feel because Johnny said this too, but he says Palacio's legit a real life cartoon character. I think he just does what he does. I'm just curious if he's just pushing it along because you're entertaining.
Well, and obviously that's a little bit, and I think he likes the attention, obviously, which is why he's portraying to be this rich Bitcoin guy. And it's well,
do you think he is?
I wouldn't venture. Maybe he has some, and he's been interested in the space. But if you really had a lot of Bitcoin, and you say you have a Bitcoin sign, I said, well, you can give it to any charity you want. And you had that many, why wouldn't you say, sure? That's gonna be great for your reputation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that is true.
That, hey, I get to give money to this charity because I got taken down. It's kind of a really good story, would pump him up. And so the fact that I don't know if you've ever trusted your instincts and been around someone, and the reaction when I said, well, let's just give it to charity.
Right, you can see something's
That's still $42,000. It's well, that's a lot to him.
Right.
That's a lot to him. And if he had 100 of them or whatever, that wouldn't be a lot to him. And so you could tell by the way he felt that was a lot of money. And listen, to most people it is, but if you're claiming to be this rich Bitcoin guy, then it shouldn't be.
Right.
Didn't you say he posted a screenshot or something?
Yeah, he would have.
But you can fake that, obviously. But
I'm sure you could.
Yeah. There's AI. I see some
Yeah.
wild shit. See all those Trump photos with the cats and the ducks. Like, there's some wild stuff on the internet now.
Do you see the AI of Trump and Kamala like getting married? Like,
Yeah.
it's an
Oh, I
actual
didn't see
video.
that
You
one.
didn't see it?
No, I didn't see
It's
that one.
weird.
It's very weird. It's very
can't-
Or
weird.
him and
Yeah.
Biden as best friends and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one
Yeah.
either.
Yeah,
You
it's
guys are too
weird.
deep into the AI stuff.
We are.
Yeah, I guess. We're deep.
Yeah, hopefully that the AI can be a little scary. So hopefully we can stop that before it gets too scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause the last thing we want is we want to at least be able to believe our eyes, you know. And AI, if it gets much better, we're not going to be able to believe what we see because.
Well, especially when everyone can make it.
Yeah.
That's when it
Yeah.
becomes
Yeah, yeah.
dangerous because how do you
Yes.
assess that from a security standpoint? Like,
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah, or even like say, I have say my Bitcoin, I have it in this multi-sig where it's like I have 2 keys other places. Like I there's too much money in my house, right? So I'm going to put it somewhere else. So none of it's at my house, and you'd have to go 2 separate locations to get it. But then even if you were to figure out where those were and get them, then you'd have to make a video of me saying, yes, this is Ben Askren, and I am, permitting this charge or whatever. I'm sending money somewhere. And so it's like, well, if AI could doctor that, like.
Yeah, if it could do the video.
That's
I
scary.
remember hearing this story. Like, it's literally like you have treasure chests planted on like different, like legit, like keys. Like,
Wait,
you
that's
need
sick.
you need to collect all, and then you can have access. Dude, it should be like
But
a
that's
movie.
I started getting scared in the last. Well, you know what they say about the Winklevoss twins. So in the last bull run, I got scared because I'm like, this is too much money to have in my house. Like I can't. This is dumb. So I looked into multi-sig and I said I'm going to put them not at my house. So that way, if someone were to come to the house, I could legitimately say, I don't have them. They're not here. Whatever. And likely by the time we were to get them, I would have been gone for too long for someone to not notice I'm gone, right? And then they call the cops. So that's kind of like the goal.
Right.
But with the Winklevi, they started buying Bitcoin really early. And so with Bitcoin, I did this also, there's 12 seed words. So if you were to buy a singular cold storage wallet device, and it's actually kind of powerful, but if you were to buy a singular cold storage wallet device, you also have 12 seed words that come with it. So if someone were to steal your wallet or it got burned in a fire, you could use the 12 seed words and you could get the same wallet back, right? It's kind of like a protective phase. And so what they did, because they had so much, they would put one word. So I didn't separate it by one word, but I did separate it. They would put one word here, one word here, one word here. Right, so they had the 12 words in different places, so it would have been impossible for anyone to even get their seed words, put them together to get their wallet back.
Yeah.
So I also separated my seed words, not one by one like they did, but enough where it's unlikely that anyone would be able to get them ever.
Yeah.
You're the only one that knows it, like where they are.
Yeah, my wife would have to do some digging. I've tried to explain. To her, like, hey, Amy, this is how you get our Bitcoin if you were to want to, and she's like, maybe a different time. I'm like, at some point you should probably listen. At some point you should probably know this. I think.
Well, do you have her as a beneficiary of the things, or is
That's
it
how Bitcoin
impossible?
go. So I don't know if they would be able to. I'd have to look into if they could help her. But if you have a singular trader, there is no beneficiary.
Interesting.
It's your money, and that's to me that's one of the great things about it. And people don't want to take responsibility in 2024. But at a bank, we've only had this happen a couple times in America where there's been a bank run. So like Silicon Valley Bank, if you had your money there and you want to go get it, it was gone, right? And that has happened in other countries, Cyprus, Lebanon, Argentina, other places where. So if there's a bank run in America and Caden Henschel has his money at U.S. Bank and Caden Henschel shows up at U.S. Bank, sorry, there's no money because they lend it out at 20-1. Whereas with Bitcoin, when you put it on your cold storage, like there's only 21 million Bitcoin ever. There will never ever be more. And once you have it on your cold storage device, nobody can touch it. It's yours. It's not lended out. It's not nothing. It's there. And so that's like kind of a powerful thing that it is in fact yours. And that's why people in the Bitcoin community they recommend don't leave it on exchanges where. Stuff has been hacked or stolen from exchanges. In the case of FTX, he was a scammer, and what he said was there wasn't actually there. So if it's on your devices, you can verify that it's yours and it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you see Bitcoin 10 years from now?
I don't know if it'll be 10 years. At some point in the future, I think it's going to be the world reserve currency.
Oh.
Yeah. So kind of like gold has been to a certain extent. So everything that gold does, Bitcoin does better. So whether it's like verifiability, there's been counterfeit gold, they pack it with other things. Transportability, obviously transporting $1 billion of gold is hard because it's very heavy. And so like Bitcoin, if I were to send it, if I had $1 billion, and I want to send $1 billion, I could send it like that.
Yeah.
You know, and there would be a very small fee on it. You know, whereas transporting $1 billion of gold is going to be, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars because you have to pay out your security and this and that. So all the things that gold does, right? Because gold was once the world reserve currency, and I think it just became too cumbersome to do so, and probably politically inconvenient because when you can print money, you can do political favors. Not to make this podcast political, but if you listen to a Kamala speech, her whole thing is promising money printing. So she says, I'm going to give new home buyers $25,000.
Yeah.
I may do this. Well, guys, we're running a $2 trillion deficit in America. We don't actually have that money. Those are IOUs. Those are money we print that we don't actually have. And so it's not politically convenient to have to actually balance a budget. So like you as an individual and you as an individual, if you run out of money, that's called bankruptcy, right? At some point, people will stop doing it. The U.S. government, there's like, print us another $2 trillion. That's for real. It's funny, but no, we're like $36 trillion in debt now, right? So it's like they don't have to say, oh shit, we're bankrupt. They just like, a couple more trillion.
Yeah.
A couple more trillion.
I just don't understand how far can that go.
Well, and a lot of people thought it would never get this far, but it has. And so now you look at their ways out. So their ways out, spend less than they bring in. That's
for
not
a long time.
For a long time, that's not happening, right? Or print more money, and if they inflate the money enough, then $36 trillion is not going to be that much, and then ideally, maybe in the future, they're going to pay it off. So I think it's probably more likely that the dollar will hyperinflate, which is why I encourage people, if you don't want to become a full-fledged Bitcoiner, read about it. It's like, you should have at least a little bit in there, right? And I always say, what are the chances the American politicians stop printing money? And the answer is, I don't know, what's your guess? Zero?
Probably zero, yeah.
Probably zero, right? So it's like, have a little bit somewhere else. Yeah.
One thing about that 25,000 thing, if they give, it's new home buyers, right?
I think it was new home buyers, yeah.
If they give them 25K, won't people just start upping the prices on the houses by 25K?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's right. That's inflation. That's what happened. Is during Corona, they printed a whole bunch of money, and so the home prices went up. And so what they say in Bitcoin circles is that like the money printing, it leads to certain industries having favor. So if you think during Corona, they shut all the small businesses down. A lot of small businesses failed, and a lot of the big businesses, you watch the stock market, they all went up, right? Because they did really well. And then the same thing has happened with home prices because now multiple times over the last 20 years, they've guaranteed that home prices will only go up they buy out the mortgages. So like in 2008, when the banking crisis happened, they essentially, bought all those mortgages and ensured the prices couldn't go down.
Yeah.
Right. So, we're $36 trillion in debt. It's not so good.
I didn't even know that, to be honest.
Yeah.
36 trillion.
That's a lot. I don't know if you know what that's a lot.
The
It's a big
information
number.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to get a little bit more on track a little bit.
Okay.
But sticking kind of with finances,
Okay.
maybe like even you to me. You have been in the wrestling, combat, MMA space forever, and you have made it your a successful career.
Yeah.
What would you say like on your advice to or someone in high school or even myself now in college?
Yeah.
I'm no longer wrestling in college next year. What would your be advice to say like sticking in this niche and being financially stable?
You're lucky because you have so many damn followers on YouTube, right? So you're probably in a different position than the majority of people. I would say, especially in wrestling, it's hard. MMA, man.
Because everyone
unfortunately,
like,
I only got bad news about this.
Okay, I was gonna say because there's only so many coaches positions. There's only so many clubs you can make. So I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think, and I think what we've proven in with AWA is that there's way more wrestlers than people ever thought. I remember back in 2013 when we were going to open our second location in Mequon, Coach Messerman's like, there's no way there's enough wrestlers. Like, we can't split it into two. And now if you look at Max's club and my club, we're freaking 2 or 3 times the size we were in 2013, individually.
Right.
And so, like, there's way more wrestling than we think. So, and I think there's probably a lot of markets. Obviously, if you were coming into this market, you'd kind of be an idiot because you'd be dealing with Max and I, and we have Fond du Lac, and we have Franklin, so you'd kind of be dumb to come in this market. But, there's a lot of places which are totally untapped. I think of, in Florida, I know Steve Mako's got something going, but then it's like, there's 5 million people on the coast down there, and then there's millions of people on the other coast, and how many clubs are there? And the answer is there's not a lot, right? So it's like places like that, there's definitely the capability. But I would say probably careers outside of wrestling, maybe start there, and then if you can kind of build something up, then that'd be, a great way to do it. MMA, I don't think it's a good job. I recommend it to almost nobody. There's not a lot of high-paying careers, and that would be another one where like, okay, if you really want to do it, get another job. So like a Jordan Newman, it's like we gave him a job at AWA so he could almost afford to be a fighter because you don't make money forever. It takes so long to make money. And he's 7-0 and doing really well. It's like, imagine he was not doing well. He'd be making no money.
Right.
So there's so many of those things. But yeah, I would just say if you're, this is kind of not based on combat sport, but this would be based on anything. I mean, like your YouTube channel. If you can provide people with enough value that they find it worthwhile to consume your content or show up at your practices, you're going to find a way to make money. And you're going to be happy doing it. So that's kind of what I would say is like, how do you make yourself valuable? And that could be building yourself up through time, through your knowledge, through reading books, building your skills up in wrestling. I'm not a great YouTuber, so I can't list off the YouTube skills you need. But I mean, let's say we can laugh about it and say, you're a YouTuber, but I'm sure there's a whole bunch of things you do really well that I don't even think about, that I don't know about, And so if you can build yourself up to provide enough value to others, and so when someone's choosing to watch your content for 30 minutes, they're saying, I find value in watching this for whatever reason. Maybe it's entertainment, maybe they learn something, but they're finding value in you. You're providing something to them. So, that's just a really simple way to think about business is like, can I provide value to you? Yeah. So when a kid shows up at practice at AWA, do I make their life better or worse? Make their life better, they're probably gonna keep showing up. If I make their life worse, they're gonna be gone and I won't run a business very long. Yeah.
No, I like that. I do appreciate that advice too. Yeah. That's really good stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, that's you guys going forward. It's like, how do you find a way to provide value? And then also obviously when you're constantly about helping others, I do think it changes your brain a little bit. It makes your life a little better because you're just not as self-focused. And I think that's something obviously depression rates are through the roof with the generation kind of like below me. I think a lot of it has to do with social media. I think a lot of it has to do with also the focus on self, right? The focus on self. And so like when you're a coach, and honestly, I would venture to guess, it's funny because like you guys film yourself all the time, but I would venture to guess you guys are thinking, what do other people want to see? Yeah. Because if you're thinking, what do I want to see?
Matters. What do people want to see? Then you get the views.
What do people want to see, right? So you're thinking about other people and how to impact other people's lives. And that's like me as a coach. If I can positively impact enough kids, I'm going to look like a really good coach. Mm-hmm. And then more people want to show up. But it starts with me impacting them, And it's like with this journal, like, okay, even if a bunch of people bought one journal, if they think, oh, this journal sucks, I'm never using it again, then it's not going to be a good business. It'll be done, right? Mm-hmm. Or the book, it's like if people read it and they say, freak, that was good. I had a young man, I don't know if he's under, I feel like I shouldn't say his name, but anyways, a young man texted me last night, got my number from a friend of a friend, and said, I got your book this morning, I already listened to it, and it's freaking amazing. And it was like, number one, it made me feel really good, but it's that thing, like if he's taking time out of his day to text me, he's probably gonna tell his friend, hey, that book was really good, it had a positive impact on me. Right. So it's like, how many other people can impact and make their, make something good happen in their life? If you can do that enough times, then you got a business of some sort.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Who do you think will be the first Askren wrestler to be an Olympic champ?
Well, I said, my daughter asked me if we had anyone to make the team in 2024, and I said, I didn't think we would. And that's the one thing, if you guys see, you can maybe put the clip of that, but we have that mountain back there. Yep. We've done all them things, right? That was an original wall right there that stayed there. We had an office there. We cut that wall. It's for more room for parents. We were too crowded, but it's got the, so if you guys can't, well, I'll just describe it real quick and maybe you guys
we can take a picture.
Okay, so it's got the Wisconsin wrestling, and then it's got the WA, which is the high school, and then it's got the USA wrestling, which represent like the, Fargo, Nationals, that type of stuff, NCAA, and then at the very, very top is the Olympics. Maybe we should have put a UWW there, because now AWA wrestlers have won everything all the way up, U20 Worlds, U23 Worlds. Mm-hmm. We've never had an athlete win the senior level nationals, so Keegan took third. 2023. Mitchell took third at the trials. Nick Becker took fourth in 2019, maybe. So, we've had people relatively close, but that's the one thing that we have not won yet. So I told my daughter, I think in 2028, we're gonna have a whole bunch of good chances. Yeah. So, I think Keegan will be coming to his prime. I think Mitchell will be coming to his prime. Aiden, Connor, I said this, we had, I think 9 people, competing at the trials last week, and it's like,
hopefully this is a start of something that doesn't stop for a long time.
Right.
You know, of a lot of AWA athletes participating in the trials, and you know that if you look at like our regional stated goals all the way back from 2011, I have them somewhere in the back, but you know, one of the things is to build a lifelong passion for wrestling, and now we have all these kids who love it, and you know, we have a ton going to college, and now we have even a ton wrestling past college, right? And that's kind of our goal, is to build that lifelong passion for wrestling. This is what I have. Like I said, I still love wrestling. I can't do it every day, but when some of those good guys come back, I love, you know, stepping in there and battling with them. And, you know, that's kind of ideally how a lot of people view wrestling. It's like, hey, this is a fun, you know, I said this earlier about Greco, but I don't give a shit if you watch me wrestle. I wrestle with these guys in here with no cameras on. It's like, I just like it. I just enjoy wrestling. I enjoy the chest mass of it. I enjoy the physicality of it. I love the combat. I like it, you know? So.
I am curious too, because I should have asked earlier when we were talking about you wrestle, like, you know, when Keegan comes back or Parker comes back, like, how do you fare to those guys, given your age? Like, if you could wrestle them in a match, do you think?
I hold my own.
Hold your own.
Yeah, for sure. So,
if you could have like that one more match, you were saying the match, not Palacio,
because he's easy.
Right. Who do you think would make sense, and who would be people would watch?
I don't want to put myself in a place where I'm going to lose again, but I'd obviously want to wrestle someone really good. And I don't think I can't compete. I'll be honest. I can't compete with the Kyle Dake or Jordan Burroughs. I can't compete on that level yet. But I'm only a little bit of a notch below. Based on how my athletes are doing with who I'm wrestling, I'm only a little bit of a notch below that. So I don't know. It'd be something that, you know, like, I kind of think of a Starocci, but like, he's really good. I don't know that I could beat him. I think I could be competitive with him, but could I beat him? I'm not sure. It would be a competitive match, I'm sure. So someone like that, someone that people care about, that's fun. I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah.
How do you think a matchup of Starocci and Keckeisen goes?
Well, that's one we're going to hopefully see this year, I think. You know, maybe Parker can be the one that derails him from winning number 5.
Yeah.
You know, Parker's fun because he just has gotten so much better. You know, if you go all the way back, he's never a U state champion. And I don't think he had his breakout. I want to say it was his junior year of high school where he finally had success. Because you guys are all probably similar age, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Is that when he teched the guy in the finals?
He took the guy both his finals. I think.
Then
high school.
But the year
Yeah.
before, he might have just qualified or took
No,
like
so his
sixth.
freshman year he took 6th.
I don't think he placed his freshman year.
Yeah, he did. I
Really?
remember because that one guy hit the mat. I don't remember. He was a good kids wrestler, and then there was never super good high school wrestler. And he pounded the mat after losing to Parker, and he actually hurt his elbow. And, I'll look it up. But then his next year, he might have taken 2nd.
Okay, maybe I was thinking the 6th year was a sophomore.
So I think he
year.
took 6th, and then 2nd, and then 1st and 1st. If I remember, I could. Now you're making me think I'm off.
I didn't know he made.
I'll tell you something I remember for sure is his sophomore year. This is where I think he was getting good. But I took a van to Flow National, so it was Keegan, Rashka, Mako. This is when Mako had his breakout, and he almost beat Sammy Sasso. Dentino, Parker. So I had like 9 guys that went to Flow Nationals. And Parker, he was so depressed because he went 0-2, but he had the 6th seed first round, and it was a really close match. He almost won. And the 7th seed, I think, got upset, and he lost right away to him on the backside. Or maybe it wasn't 7th seed. It was someone else got upset and got pushed down to him, and he had 2 really good guys kind of like back to back. And it was like, I could see he was close. Like, you could see, like, dude, you're almost there. You're not quite there. But, like, and that's where it's like, you know, some coaches lose kids because maybe they may shit on them when they're down. And it's like, no, like, you're doing the right things. You're right there. Just keep going, you know? And it was like, we could tell, like, he was almost there. And then, you know, I think I missed it. And I know I was like, I'm going to get close here. Like, Fargo, I think he was round of 12 maybe as a cadet. And, you know, I want to say he lost someone good, like, he was 84-pounder wrestler at Mizzou, I don't remember. And then I think he lost around a 12 at the UWW cadets, you know. So like it was these times where he was like getting close, but he wasn't quite there, you know, and then he had a breakout. And then, you know, even when he took 3rd at NCAA as a freshman, I was like, damn, you got that good? You know, like, that's really good, you know. And then he's continued to just improve. And then last year, you know, he was like 32-0 with, you know, out 20-something bonus, and you know, 2nd in the Hodge ranking. So it's like
snubbed.
Damn, like Air Brooks was fair. That was fair. But, you know, but like he just keeps getting better, and he works hard. He's diligent, and so I'm gonna love to see the matchup. Starocci is very hard to score on, and Parker's very aggressive offensively. So I guess I'm very excited to see how that plays out. Obviously, I'm cheering for Parker.
I would say, just to be fair, I think it is a coin flip. Like, I can't say, like, oh, I think Parker's going to kill him. Like, we're talking about 4-time NCAA champion, you know, who's uber elite. So I think to me at this point, it's a coin flip.
Why hasn't Parker competed at any of, like, the senior stuff yet?
I don't know. We were trying to get him because he was chunky when I wrestled with him in, it was like July or something. We were trying to get him wrestle 92 kilograms at the one last weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know. He hasn't really wrestled in freestyle. I haven't had I know he doesn't really love freestyle. Okay. And so, like, I wouldn't be shocked either way. I think it's a coin flip. Like, if he goes and has a senior level career in freestyle, I wouldn't be shocked if he says, hey, I just want to coach wrestling and, you know, go be a college coach. And, you know, that's something that it's almost like a lot of guys, you know, say like a Mark Hall. It feels to me like, in this, I don't know the guy at all, so I could be totally wrong. Because me reading body language, it felt to me like I'm obligated to do this. This is what wrestlers do. When they finish their college career and they're really good, then they go wrestle freestyle. Right. It never looked like he was super into it like he was early in his college career. Like, just the body language was different. You know, like early in his college career, you'd see he was super enthused, motivated, and then it didn't look like that. And now you see, you know, he says, oh, I'm going to wrestle. I'm going to coach college, you know? So there's a lot of guys who, like, it feels to me like they almost feel obligated to compete for at least a couple years and then move on to coaching, where it's like, well, if you're done competing and you want to be done, that's fine. Like, you know, like a Mark Hall, like, you've been competing seriously for, 15 years. Mm-hmm. Like, fine, go be a coach. That's a great job. Like, I love being a coach. You know, just don't have any shame in that. Say, like, I had a great college career. I won junior world title. Hey, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to go coach. I gave a lot to myself, and now I'm ready to give to the next generation. Like, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. So I wouldn't be shocked if Parker did that. I wouldn't be shocked if he competed through 2028 or something also. Yeah.
I'm going to steal this question from Caden.
Go for it.
But how many O'Toole's, Messenbrinks, and Keckeisens do you think are training here right now?
Oh, I hope a lot. Yeah, I hope a lot. It's crazy to see, like, the numbers, and I'm even speaking strictly of this facility. We're here in Heartland, right? Yep. And so we've expanded. We have 7 locations on the state, but just in Heartland, it's effing insane how many kids are wrestling now. Like, and so we talked earlier about providing value, making them want to be here, making them feel like I'm giving them something that they like. Dude, all August, we had 90 kids in August in this room. So, because and Max hate this, but in August I go down to one practice. It's like, just give me a little more time at home, you know. And so, you know, we run both sides at the same time, but it's a singular practice. Yeah, and so when I switched it to one practice on our online system, I switched it to 80 people can check in at the practice, you know, because I knew it was going to be a lot. And there was a couple days where we were over 80. And one day we were at 90, and it's like, insane. There's so many kids who want to wrestle. And, you know, actually, one of the things I have a guilt feeling about right now is, you know, when we're talking about those athletes, and there was a lot less people here, I mean, or a fraction of that number, they were able to get a little more one-on-one attention because there wasn't so many of them. And now I feel guilty. There's so many kids who are so dedicated and so motivated and want to be so good. It's hard to give them all as much attention, right? Because if there's 2 of them and you have an hour, they each get 30 minutes. If there's 20 of them and you have an hour, they get 3 minutes. Right. You know, so it's like, I feel guilt towards that. And so, you know, we are bringing in more coaches who can ideally work with more people. Max is really good about that also. But that also is, you know, why multiple locations is because we're bringing in more coaches. We're not overloading a singular one. So I'm optimistic. I think there's a bunch of them. I think our crops now are better than they ever have been. Not only at this facility, but kind of around the state of Wisconsin. And then, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, part of what's good about Pennsylvania is they have so many good kids and they have to compete with each other, and then they'll do a standard. And so when everyone sees what that standard is, it rises everybody. And, you know, I'll just kind of give you one little anecdote here is, I can remember going to the U17s early on, and, you know, I know there was one year where Keegan was the last one to get out. And I remember someone else had taken a different car guys home, and he lost to Lucas Bird, who was wrestling in Illinois. And I remember, you know, driving home in the rain, he was crying. And I was thinking, this tournament is so freaking hard. How are we ever gonna have that much success at this tournament? You know, and then it was like last year at Vegas, I was looking around in that last round, and I was disappointed because we didn't do quite as well as I thought certain kids could. But then I was like, oh my God, there's 10 weight classes. I think we had All-Americans in either 7 or 8 weight classes, and we had like 4 other rounded 12ers, and we had 4 other rounded 16ers. You know, so like we have 16 guys in the top 16 here. And, you know, I remember that point vividly thinking like, holy crap, like this tournament is so hard. How are we ever going to do well here? You know, so now it's like the whole thing has just risen up where we have so many kids competing at a high level. So hopefully that doesn't ever stop. It'll be beneficial if we ever can have a really successful coach at Wisconsin.
I was going to talk about this too, because that 97-pounder just left.
Just left yesterday.
Just left.
Back to Wartburg, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously we had a coaching turnover a handful of years ago, and I was optimistic that would bring change, and it's looking rough. It's looking bleak. And so, you know, and then I go back to Pennsylvania because they are the best wrestling state. Although, hey, we did beat everyone in junior duels. People are
Does
mad.
Wisconsin crack top 5 of best wrestling states right now?
We're getting very close. Yeah, you know. Well, it also matters what format are you doing it in. If like last year you're doing a singular dueling format, yeah, we're in the top 5 for sure, right? Yeah. Even if you say Pennsylvania brings their very, very best out of every weight class, they might beat us, but like there's not a lot of states that are gonna beat us, even though they bring all their best. So definitely top 5, but you know, and that's like, is it depth? Is it, you know, like what?
Yeah.
What
it's
exactly?
more vague. Like,
yeah, it's a little bit vague. You know, but like, you know, one thing's, and this is me being jealous. Jealousy is an emotion we all feel, and so sometimes we just need to acknowledge, like, Pennsylvania, they're probably already the best. So the point I was gonna make earlier was that they have 14 Division I colleges, which means they have 14 colleges graduating guys every single year who are probably, at some way, shape, or form, a decent percentage of them are helping out in another club.
Right.
Yeah,
So we have that many high-level guys.
We only have one.
We have one, yeah, and it's, you know, it's not doing great. But then the other thing they have, which is annoying as shit, is they're already probably the best, and then they have all these move-ins.
Yeah.
You know, like Jax Forrest move in, Sam Herring move in, Joe Seeley move in. You know, so it's like, well, they're already the best, and then they're getting all these other kids to move in, probably because they're already the best.
Yeah.
And it makes it even better. You know, a Pearson Manville, or like you have all of these people, and so it's like, damn, it's like jealous. Like, let's get, so we've had a couple move-ins, and you know, who knows, maybe they'll continue to ramp up. Wisconsin's beautiful, especially if you live in Illinois, their taxes are way too high. You don't want to live down there. Come up north here.
Yeah. This is also, we were in conversations with, every year we have like the Wisconsin Showcase.
Yeah.
We had it one year successfully of just like, you know, we had the Badgers, us, D2.
You guys
and
did it this year though, right?
Yes, but Wisconsin's not going to be there.
And
I thought they were.
And they weren't
No,
last year.
They weren't last year.
I thought they were
weren't this
wrestling
year.
Ohio.
No,
I don't think so.
So
Crazy?
it's not happening. But I'm curious too, because we basically asked like, if Wisconsin could duel us. Like, actually, like, do you think Parkside could beat Wisconsin Badgers?
Oh, this year?
This year.
I would have to see what their lineup is, but you guys being UW Parkside, it's gonna be very good. I mean, last year it would have been competitive. It wouldn't have been a blowout, I'm sure. And this year I would say it's gonna be significant. Set it up!
Yeah,
That's
right.
I
That's
love the
why.
brawl. There's only one way to figure it out. Set it up.
He beat a guy that tech fought their 41 pounder.
Yeah,
Who, Latini?
yeah.
He's not super great. He's struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just.
No, I would love to see it.
It'd be cool. I would love to duel a Division I team.
And the
I
Badgers
agree.
used to wrestle maybe Parkside and Whitewater. I
Really?
remember this is a while back, but there used to be a thing, and I remember I think it was Whitewater and Parkside, I believe.
I remember you telling me about this when we went to Indiana.
Yeah, I think there was. I don't remember how many years. It was kind of a while ago. I don't remember how many years ago. But yeah, I would love to see it. But I would love to see, you know, someone take the reins of the Wisconsin program and lead it to greatness, because that would be hugely beneficial to, you know, AWA and the state of Wisconsin, and just really an overall big positive. And you know, we obviously are sending a lot of guys right now to Parkside because we think Coach Nick he's awesome, right? He was a kid we got to coach for a couple of years. I want to say, we used to have banners over there. So let me look over here.
Yeah.
I had a flashback there.
He started coming here when he was a little older, though, right?
Yeah, because we opened in 2011. I want to say graduated in 2000. I'm going to Fargo freestyle. Let's see, junior. So I think he graduated in 2012.
I see him. He's the second one on that board.
2011 there, he All-American. But 2012, he's a senior. I want to say he got hurt his senior year. Let's see. Yes, and he's state champ 2012. So yeah, we had just opened, so he came here for a little bit, and then, you know, I was able to convince him to work with us for a few different summers. But we think he's doing such an amazing job, and you know, everyone can get excited about Parkside Wrestling because you guys are What do you guys rank now? I mean, it's got to be top 5, right?
Yeah, no, we're for sure.
First?
No.
No.
Well, I said
Hey,
we'll for sure be ranked top 5 to start.
The highest we were last year was like 3, right? Or
Yeah.
2?
Yeah.
2 or 3?
2 or 3.
Yeah, I think this is for sure the best year since I've been there.
Right.
For sure. But it is cool that I think our first year I think we might have went 0-7 or 1-7 in duels.
Yep.
And now the past 2 years we're like 23-1 in duels. So it's super cool. But we'll have to see how it plays out. But.
Yeah, but I would say, hey, Caden Henschel can promote the match.
Yeah.
Can't do it this year. Maybe you can do it next year on the Caden Henschel channel, and you guys could buy the rights or something.
Yeah. No,
That's
definitely. I'm also very curious to see where my channel and content goes after competition. So there's so much stuff to think about and do, but
Yeah. You guys could do a professional wrestling league.
yeah. Well,
I've tried and failed twice.
yeah. Did you see anything about the claw wrestling? What they're trying to do?
Yeah, they talk. I talked to them for a few minutes. It's just because I've done it twice and failed twice, and because I've heard a lot of other people over the last, say, 10, 15 years, I've heard their pitches. It's just, I didn't love their pitch, and I just, I don't know, whatever. Hopefully, listen, I'd be great.
Everyone wants it to happen.
Everyone wants it to happen, so hopefully, they can have success, but I think they're going to kind of have a hard time, would be my guess.
Did you see their event?
I saw clips on.
It was cool, but a little goofy.
Yeah, I mean, it was different. It was
Yeah.
cool because I was actually the general manager. So I drafted a team. I was the
Oh, wow.
the
How did they
owner.
recruit you to be the owner?
Just
Social media? or
just
something?
social media, yeah. And so it was me, and then Billy Baldwin was the other person.
yeah.
So we were drafting, and then my team won. I got a crazy upset, and then we just killed them. But it was kind of cool. You could see it was Caden Henschel, Clash of Combat. So it was funny to see that way. But no, it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have ideas of where you're going to go with it yet, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's less about me on my journey, more about just going around and just seeing what other people are doing, how I've gone around and do when I did Spencer Lee a couple years ago, or Carr this past summer with Michich, and then even heck Blaze was in the room, so it's now he's killing
Matt
it
Ramos.
even more, but Matt Ramos, but it's just there's so many cool things in wrestling that just aren't on camera, and I think I just want to be able to bring it to that, and it'll provide value in some way. So.
Yeah, we never would have known that Blaze and Matt Ramos were training with Michich if we didn't go that day.
Yeah.
They were training on us because it's a basis or singular time.
It was it was Blaze's second time there.
Yeah.
But he wanted to go there more, and then
Where was that at?
it's Indiana actually.
Right in the-
I forget the name of the club.
Because obviously Ramos's teammates with Blaze's brother.
Yes.
Right.
At Purdue,
Yep. And
right?
he was
He
there,
was there
too.
too,
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yep. But there's no beef from that. I kind of almost
They
even
said they drove 3 hours to get there. It's called Galaxy, but it's not.
heard of it.
The place isn't actually called Galaxy.
Yes, I think
It's weird.
Yeah, I think they actually have a Galaxy, but they just use that facility sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great stories to be told in wrestling. Flo's done a great job. But
Yeah.
that definitely doesn't mean, and this is where, I said with AWA, when we opened our second club, Coach Messerman was there's not enough wrestlers.
Right.
And it's build it, So I think there's probably plenty of great stories to be told. And you already have the following where you can kind of make it come to life.
Sure.
And the other, and as this has already been evident, right? But the other high-level wrestlers see it worthwhile to be on your channel because you have such a large following. So it's positive for them too. So it's kind of makes everything go together.
Yeah. And I'm curious too, because everyone wants to grow wrestling, but no one really has that best answer. Do you think it gets better by every wrestler just getting better and wrestling is better, or is it by personalities maybe outside?
Personalities, of course, help. But I do think, I think I have a video coming out on Friday about this. So I said, the UWW is doing a relatively good job. Maybe that's me being nice also. But the one thing that we don't have yet is we don't have any type of regular season, right? And so you think of any type of sport, whether it's golf or tennis or basketball or football, they all have seasons, right? Starts here, ends this here. Here's the big events that are happening, and then here's usually some type of finale, most likely, right? UFC would be a different model if you wanted to go that way, but they have an amount of belts, and those belts are up for grabs. Generally, at every pay-per-view, you'll have either one or two of the belts, and then the undercard, right, the younger ones, they are fighting their way up the ranks, right? So there's this constant story being told of, you're number 8 and you're fighting him and he's number 6 and you want to beat him and then you're going to ask for this next guy and then you're going to get the title shot, right?
Storylines.
So there's this constant storyline and it's clear who the champion is, and right, so there's this clarity about what is actually happening. Whereas with wrestling, we don't really get to see the stars that often, and so my suggestion was this, is like, okay, so the UWW tells every country that, hey, in March or April, you're going to have your domestic championships, right? And if you want to have a domestic season, you do it before then, okay? Then right after that, you have some type of continentals, okay? And then you have an actual season, right? Where you say there's say June, July, and August. There's, I don't know, we'll say 3 to 6 major tournaments, and there might even be a level below that, right? Of like a minor league system, like they have in fighting. We're talking about XFC and baseball, all the sports have that, right? So there might be a minor league system, but there's these big tournaments, and in order to qualify for Worlds, you have to earn a certain amount of points from wrestling these tournaments, right? Or you have to, maybe show up at a certain amount. There could be some requirement necessary to go to the next level. So immediately you're going to make all those tournaments kind of important because there's the necessity for the best guys to show up at those tournaments to go to the Worlds. And now, if you think about it now, there are a lot of the biggest stars who literally only compete at their nationals at the Worlds.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what if I said Tiger Woods is only going to, and that's, I don't actually follow golf now, so no, I'm dating myself, right? But the 5 biggest stars in the sport, and even Burroughs and Taylor did this, right? Where they rarely competed. You only get to watch them twice a year.
Yeah.
Right? And when you watch them, it's going to be some obscure time because it's in some other country. Like, dude, it's hard to build a fan base.
Yeah.
And then honestly, if I want to be more critical, it's kind of hard to follow where those matches are at. Sometimes the bracketing on UWW kind of sucks. Like, it's not easy to follow. And so if we made something a thing where all of the best guys are going to show up at these 3 places and then Worlds, right? Some format like that, then we would actually be able to watch the best guys 5 times a year. So something like that. That's what we need. We need some type of cohesion between what's happening, and we need to be able to watch the stars more often. That's kind of like on the big level. On the small level is, I think, kind of just what AWA is doing more places. Like, you need to make wrestling more accessible and more palatable to the younger generation, which builds up the number. And then if they're wrestling, they're probably more likely to be fans of wrestling. We have a lot of kids who watch Big Ten on Friday nights or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that was another thing I was thinking about. I'm kind of going on here. The UWW is like, if I turn on the Big Ten channel on Friday night, I probably know who's wrestling for Ohio State at 149. If I turn on some tournament at UW, but I don't know who's wrestling for Azerbaijan at 65 kilograms, I have no idea. Right. So it's like, if you don't know, it's hard to follow. It's so hard to follow.
Yeah.
So that could be really, really impactful.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You think a belt system in wrestling would be cool?
We tried that
league?
in the first
You did
years.
try that?
Like the white belt, blue belt, that type of thing? Or like the championship belt?
Like a championship belt, like a
Yeah,
UFC belt.
I think honestly, if someone is going to do it, that's probably how they're going to do it. Because it's going to be hard, and you would need too much money. And that's the other thing. Right? So we're talking about all the factors involved in professional wrestling. Is a lot of these other countries, Caydens wrestled to Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan pays him $60,000 a year to wrestle, right? So he at least feels comfortable. Dubai pays Tezudnoff or whomever, right? UAE, sorry, right? But they pay these guys. And so they have an obligation to wrestle for those countries and show up at the Continentals and the Worlds and this type of thing. Whereas if I say, hey, I can pay you 10 grand to come wrestle in my league, they're like, well, I already get paid a salary.
Right.
It's not of interest to me, So it's going to be really hard, or you would need a crap ton of money to get like a season set up where we're like, hey, we're going to start in June and we're going to go through October and we're going to do 5 or 6 events, something like that. So I think some type of system where you and this is where the other hard part. Not talking about all the hard parts. It takes time to give something relevance. You can't show up the first time and say this is relevant. So if you were to award a belt, right, you would need someone respectably good. You can't have a terrible person have the belt. But then it would take time to build relevance in that belt where people like, right now, the UFC belt is very highly sought after. But if you went in the first 5 years of it, probably no one had that feeling.
Right.
There's probably some obscure bullshit that people were doing, So you would need to have enough money to fund this to go for at least a little while, so there's build up relevance and people can be excited to watch the event and they know who the champion is, and then other wrestlers want to win that championship belt to make the money and everything that goes along with it. So there's definitely an uphill battle.
Yeah. Another thing with the belt, though, I always thought, because I've had this idea, like even in high school, we didn't try, but we talked about, like, someday we should try and make a league or whatever.
Oh, sure.
To do it. I mean,
Yeah. But like with the belt, it's like, if somebody loses a fight, it's either 25 minutes or a crazy finish or something. But like if you lose like a wrestling match, say it's freestyle, you lose 2-2.
Yeah.
You lose the belt in one match. It's like some people get like sick of it, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously you could change rule set, of course, right? When we did that in Agon 1, we did change, and I thought the rule set was really cool. But then it's like, well, no one else in the world wrestles folk style. So if you have any folk style implementations, that's going to be tough for anyone else to compete in.
Right.
So that's challenging. And then again, if like I mentioned, all the guys are getting paid by the country just on freestyle wrestling, you have to pay them a lot of money to train something else. Right? And so that becomes difficult as well. But I mean, obviously they do it in jiu-jitsu. They have, what's the big one? Who's number one on flow is pretty prevalent, pretty popular. So I don't know what the answer is. And I think, unfortunately, given the current structure, honestly, the best thing that probably happened in wrestling was people would flip out and they think it was terrible. If we got kicked out of the Olympics, right? Because we kicked out of the Olympics, now the Olympics don't mean anything. And now UWW has power because they're the governing body who dictates who gets to go to the Olympics and the rules, right? So then we would have to actually be forced to fend for ourselves and create something, right? And so then it would kind of be like every man for themselves, and whoever comes up with the best idea is going to get the best wrestlers to show up because you have the best idea and the most money, and that would be something that could create a pro league. And so then you think about certain other pro leagues, they beg the NBA players to come play in the Olympics.
Yeah,
It's not the opposite. In wrestling, it's the opposite.
Right.
But in the NBA, it's like, no, we're going to beg you to come play because this isn't a big deal to you because you make 50 times the money over there.
I can see that.
So that would be like the big impetus that would kind of maybe make it happen. But then it's like, I don't know. I could rage on the Olympics, but people would hate that, obviously. Yeah.
There's one more thing I wanted to. This is completely different, like off what we were talking about.
I haven't mentioned before you asked this question. Eastern Vortex shirt. Where are those for sale? 'Cause that's pretty classic.
We did a Secret Santa last year, and this is me and Easton are friends.
Did he make the shirt himself?
He didn't make it. Our other friend,
I'll
Chase
show you the
Stiegel
picture
from Missouri,
of,
made it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then
I think Chase Steele's from Michael Chandler's high school.
he is. Yeah.
This is Easton wearing Crosby and Crosby wearing Easton before the duel.
Wow, BFF.
Yeah.
Nice.
But
Okay. Last question.
this
Sorry.
was a long time ago.
Okay.
But you were on the Impulsive podcast.
Okay.
And you said you have a genius level IQ.
Are you gonna test me? I'm ready.
I don't know how to test you, but
I'll do it on my phone. No, that was so the joke. I mean, listen. If you tested me, I think I would score pretty well. If I had to bet on it, I would bet I'd get in the genius level IQ. But I don't know if that's me being arrogant, but I'm ready to prove it. So
what
what
is genius level IQ?
145.
145.
If you want to put a test in front of me, I will take. I'm not a coward like Dylan Palacio. If you say, Ben, here's the test. I'm betting you $500. I'll take whatever test you put in front of me.
I will randomly show up just
whenever you want.
Randomly
make
in the
sure
next
I got
year.
a couple hours quick. Make sure I have whatever time it takes.
Yeah.
So I will put my money where my mouth is, and I'll take whatever test you want. But we were harassing. So it was myself, my brother, Nick Huckey. Do you guys know him?
I don't.
He wrestled at Arrowhead and wrestled at Mizzou, and then he coached for us for a little bit. He has a roofing company here.
Yeah, I do know him.
see
He
it.
coached when I was in 7th grade.
Okay, yeah. So he coached like one day a week at each one of our academies. And this is a long time ago. And then Josh Wagner, who else wrestled at Mizzou, and he runs our Green Bay Academy. So we were going to Oklahoma City NCAA. So I don't know what year this is, 2014, 15, somewhere in there, right? And they were arguing about how dumb the other one was, right? They're like, you're so dumb. They're, right? They're probably in their early 20s or mid 20s at this time. And they were just going back and forth. And so I don't know how Max, I want to say it was Max, convinced him to take an IQ test. And we'll say, well, we'll see who's smarter, And then I'm like, well, I want to do it. And so I was driving. I took the IQ test on one hand, and I scored a 150.
Wow.
And so, I think Josh was above average intelligence. I think he was like a 110 or 115. So Josh is pretty smart. And I want to say, if I remember, I hope I'm not misquoting this. Nick got frustrated. He's like, this is stupid. And he quit and he wouldn't finish it. I think it was because Josh scored pretty well. And he was like, shit, I don't know if I could beat Josh.
Yeah.
And, I think Josh scored relatively high, So it was an internet test.
Okay.
But with one hand while driving, I scored a 150. So I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, I
right.
think there's lenient room
All
in there
right.
too.
So put whatever test you want in front of me. I will put my money where my mouth is. And unlike Dylan Palacio, if I lose, I'll donate $500 to whatever charity you choose. And it can't be the Crosby Schlosser charity. It can be whatever charity you want, not the Crosby Schlosser charity.
All right, deal.
You know what I could go towards though? On our way here, a rock hit my windshield.
No, really?
Yeah.
But you got insurance though.
No,
Okay.
it's very little.
Yeah.
I legit Crosby was like, and I'm like, oh, dang it. I was just like, well, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
So anytime you want to test me,
All right.
you can film me so I can't cheat. I will take any IQ test you want.
Deal.
So it's not me being arrogant.
That's
Deal.
awesome. We have one last thing too. We did bring him here, but we are releasing these shoes Friday, so we want to see your initial
all right.
reaction.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Initial reaction. Clash. And then we have, this is one colorway of my model. So this is the
I
zipper.
like the Parkside shoe.
Yeah. So we have zipper and two other colorways with this one, but this is the only one with laces too.
Those
so.
shoes are hard. I'm impressed by you guys. This
Thank you.
takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
This could be a business right here.
Yeah, no, that's one thing. It was just like as a kid, you always want your own shoe, at least for me. And I was like, we got stitching on here too. That was a big thing. That was like, I needed it for the final one. And
What do you mean?
So
these
this,
logos.
Yeah.
So this
Oh,
was
that-
like
that-
embossed,
got
but they're
it.
actually stitched. I just wanted a
Got
little
it.
premium that way. So I was thinking about doing some cool giveaway things, or first guy to win Statenham would get either a documentary,
Yeah,
honestly,
sure.
or even a cash reward, something like that. But
There's an idea, a business idea right there. Is following someone through, and it could be a college or
Exactly.
a high school athlete following them. It's not always the guy who's the best. That's a great story, but sometimes there's great stories,
Yes.
and they're taking third or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But
100%.
so they're dealing with something else or something's ongoing in their life, or they're just entertaining to follow that type of thing.
100%.
Yeah, sweet.
Cool. Well, that's gonna be
Congrats,
it.
guys.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No,
Thanks.
thanks so much for coming on, and it's been
Absolutely.
a pleasure.
All right, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.